the way we say that.
Or GLSA or LSA, or we'll just confuse the heck out of everybody, but that's all right.
Yeah. So for our What's Working Now theme, we're going to talk to Kris about what he's been doing with GLSA. I'm going to pop real quick into our social post of the day. Yesterday, I did a home seller Q&A and said that we'd be doing a series about these. And Kris, I'm just using GPT. I'm making this image myself in Canva, and I'm just using GPT to ask a home seller question, and I'm just pasting what what it gives me back here. So anybody who wants to copy this, as always, you can go. It'll be on the site, wakeup.realestate. But basically, what's the best time of year to sell a house? Of course, in a lot of markets, right around now is the best time. So this will be a little bit timely, and you can change up the Q&A here, to focus this post toward yourself and mention a little more that now might be a great time to get on the market. So I'll be doing this Q&A probably for the next week or so, guys. So we'll build up a library of these, and everybody can share these out as much as you like. But I'm going to jump now back in with Kris because we want to make sure we dig into this, because this is something, Kris, that Josh and I have been very curious about. And maybe on my part, I've been a little lazy about figuring out.
Everybody. Yeah. And it's anything with Google, it changes like daily, right? So, you're not going to get, it's not like Chat GPT or any kind of AI where you're eventually going to get lost if you don't dive in now, right? The way the algorithms change and their systems change, and they're like, they're always trying to find ways to make more money out of us, right? So you're not ever going to get too far behind what everybody else is doing if you do things correctly. But real quick, so I don't know how old you are, Ryan. I am old enough to know and remember the Yellow Pages, right?
Old enough here.
Yeah. So for your audience, if you understand how the Yellow Pages work, my background before I got into real estate, I worked in television and I worked in in advertising, and one of our greatest competitors were the Yellow Pages. So if you're looking for a specific type of business, say 20 years ago, your first spot is probably going to be the Yellow Pages. Yep. And let's say you're looking up a plumber, and you flip back through the Yellow Pages, and there's this big, bright, full-page ad from Joe Schmo's Plumbing or whatever else, right? Well, you're probably just going to stop right there. You found the guy you were looking for, and you call that number. Well, fast forward till today, Google has launched local services ads, which is the largest, if this is what I call it. Now, I don't know if they call it this or not, but it's the largest digital Yellow Page book in the world. So if you want to look up a plumber in St. Pete, Tampa, right? You're going to go Tampa plumber, and it's going to give you a couple people at the very top, and those are the local services ads. Now, again, those are the people that are probably going to get called the most, just like the full front page ad in the Yellow Pages, right? So I realized that real estate agents or realtors, by designation, are an approved business type for local services ads. Understand, this is not it's not eligible for everybody. If you're a loan officer, it's not going to work for you. If you're a financial planner, it's not going to work for you. Those aren't considered local service, single service types, like a plumber or a painter or a landscaper or a hairdresser or a personal trainer or a masseuse or something like that, right? So I get asked this question like, well, I have a Google My Business profile. That's it, right? No, that's not it. Local services ads is an extension of Google My Business. So you have to have a good working Google My Business profile. You have to have, a few reviews, because they're very review conscious now about who they're promoting to the top. Okay. So about 2 years ago when I got into this, and I've got a lot of data to support some stuff we're going to talk about here. About 2 years ago when I got into this, it was very easy to kind of get yourself put up to the top. And 2 years ago, you only needed 5 reviews. So 5 reviews doesn't get you to the top as easy as it did 2 years ago. So we're constantly seeking reviews from our social media audience. We're constantly seeking reviews from our SOI, our past clients, even the clients we're working with now. We're hammering everybody, right? So if you have a Google My Business profile, I'm gonna give you tip number 1 today that you can start right now. There is a link that you can put to ask for reviews. At least once a week, go hit up your people and do a review. If you're in a social media Facebook group, like a neighborhood group or something like that, offer a contest, like offer a drawing for everybody who gives me a review. I want to give you a $50 gift card. We're going to draw for one $50. Not everybody's going to get a $50 gift card. Yeah. We're going to draw for one $50 gift card. So we're doing these things to kind of boost our algorithms, and it helps your Google My Business profile overall. my understanding, the way Google is looking to in 2024 is they want to become the Facebook for businesses, if you will. Not so much like LinkedIn, but they want to have this thing. They want to have Google My Business to be a very social oriented platform. And by extension, local services ads are that. So what are local services ads for real estate agents? If somebody goes into my region, let's say Chandler, Arizona, they're going to look up Chandler, Arizona realtor. They're probably not going to find me today because right now I have my ads turned off because we're a little bit top heavy on our spend this month.
Yeah. Can I try it? I'm just going to do it. And then.
Okay. So now go to, what did you type in there?
I just typed Chandler, Arizona realtor.
All right. Okay. So you're not, look up Chandler, Arizona personal trainer. Let's see what that looks like.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I've noticed too that they don't always show the go. There it is.
Well, now also now this is a map search. So for some reason, your local services ads are not popping up there.
Okay.
They're there. Well, that might be it there. No, those three right there should be it.
Okay.
But even then, if I go on my screen, it shows something completely different.
Yeah, I know. And I might not be. Maybe I should go into a private window. Possibly. Chandler.
And it could be the way your Google set up too. You may have your ads off on your searches or something like that.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
Even then, no. So, audience, whoever's listening and watching this right now, so what you're seeing there is not typical.
Right.
So if you're listening to this or you're watching this video or whatever else, go on your phone and just look up somewhere in where you live and look up a plumber or a painter or a realtor or a real estate agent, and you're going to see 2, sometimes 3 headshots of local business owners of that category. Okay. Now here's the trick. It costs you nothing to be right there at the top. So what happens is a client will push, there's a call button. It's a Google generated random number that changes once somebody calls and goes on to the next person. So they call that Google number where it says call now.
Is that it?
That might be it. Click that button. We'll see if that, well, that's their phone number probably.
Yeah.
That's probably their real phone number. But if the local services ad, it's a Google random generated number because Google has to find a way to charge you. So they call that number, Google records the call, they try to capture information. And so if you answer the phone, which you should answer the phone. So here's the deal with this too. Secondary, if you want to be at the top, your phone has to have almost 100% answer rate.
Okay.
That's really hard to do when you got people calling you 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. You use a service for that?
I created a service for that.
Okay.
So I have an automated service that answers the phone 24 hours a day. Google does not, they don't recognize you any differently than if I'm answering the phone myself.
Okay.
And what I do is I ask them a series of questions. I have specific sellers I'm looking for, specific buyers I'm looking for. I'm not dealing with renters. I'm not dealing with land deals. I'm not dealing with any of that. If anybody is in that category, we say, thank you for the call, and we hang up.
Is that like an IVR? They're pushing a number to go through a tree?
It's an IVR, but we're dialing it in to be more AI focused.
Okay.
So 6 months from now, it's going to look completely different than what it did as of today.
Because the tech is probably out there to do that voice wise, right? But where somebody's actually talking.
We're teaching it. So, and anybody who understands AI, and I'm friends with, I'm going to name drop him. If you don't know who he is, Phil Stringer, he's just a magician when it comes to artificial intelligence in the real estate world. So, he and I'm in his ear all the time. Like, how do we teach this? And what kind of questions do we need to ask? So, and we set up a timetable that we know it's going to take several weeks, if not months, to get it dialed in perfect, because we have to continue to teach it how we want it to respond. But right now, yes, I've created an IVR platform. They call this number in. I can tune it in. I mean, we can make it as broad as you want. We can make it as narrow as you want. But for my purposes, I have 2 specific types of people that I'm looking to find off of local services ads. I'm looking for pre-qualified buyers up to a certain amount or paying cash, or I'm looking for sellers selling a specific type of property. If they get through that system, then my phone rings and then I have that conversation. The cool thing about local services ads, the calls that don't go through, I still get their information for free.
Their phone number.
Correct.
Yeah.
So like any other good sales, Well, we're not in sales, right? We're helpers. Let's be right.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys say the same thing. But any good person that's any type of sales knows you get a lead, you call them back. So the cool thing about the Google platform, the local services ads platform, is because Google records that call, you get to go in and see where they got disconnected. So I may find that I have a buyer that is looking for a property that I'm trying to sell, but they're just not pre-qualified yet. So I'll call them up and I'm like, hey, Ryan, you gave me a call a few minutes ago. Sorry, I missed you. It looks like you're trying to buy a property worth $750,000, whatever, or more, but you just haven't got pre-qualified yet. Would you like me to connect you with my lender? You know, it gives you information, right? You're not just like, it's not catching low-hanging fruit off PPC, which is pay-per-click leads. I'm sure people who are watching this understand what PPC are by now. If they don't, well, we've got a lot more to talk about. Or like Facebook Marketplace, low-hanging fruit leads, whatever else, where you're essentially just, you know, you have no information at all when you pick up the phone. Hi, your number came across my desk, and I thought I'd give you a call, right? I mean, it's very, you know, I like the idea of having information. So the local services ads is really cool because you have warm, if not hot clients who are further down the field than the ones who are just starting to look on Zillow or whatever else, right? So it's very important that you reach out to these people, even if they don't get through to you. If they
Googled realtor in Chandler, Arizona. They had a lot of intent behind that first action.
Correct.
And they clicked the call and they knew they were calling a realtor.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we always make it very important to our clients who are using our local services ads platform, is like, we need your voice on the recordings, because when they get connected to you and it's a different voice, it's disjarring, right? Or it's jarring. No, they kind of they're a little bit, you know, their balls are up. Like, hold on a second, I thought I was calling Amy, but I've got John answering the phone here, right? Whatever else. Something I want to note here too, and we'll talk about this in the mastermind later, I'm sure, but it's very important for people who are watching this to understand. You have to really know what the public in your market is doing to find real estate agents. Okay. So for me in the East Valley, Arizona has more real estate agents per capita than any state in the country. Phoenix has more agents per capita than any city in the country. More often than not, people aren't going to Google to find a real estate agent unless they have a specific type of property, maybe a nice parcel of land, or maybe a huge luxury home, or whatever else. But what we have found in 2 years of data, these mid-markets, I call them mid-major markets. Full disclosure, I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. We don't say Louisville, we say Louisville. And I use the term mid-major because I'm a huge basketball fan, right? So you think about mid-major schools. So we're talking like mid-markets, like Louisville, like Greenville, South Carolina. Maybe, you know, St. Pete. I know it's a big city, but it's not Phoenix, it's not LA, it's not Chicago, it's not Detroit. So we're finding that the people in these mid markets or even smaller markets, they are crushing it on local services ads, crushing it. I learned right away that I'm like, if I just run Maricopa County, which is a huge county and this covers Phoenix, I may get 3 or 4 transactions a year through local services ads. Hey, that's okay, because I'm paying very little money to get these ads rolling, right? Because again, you're only charged if you have a conversation with somebody.
So is that how they do it? They do it based on the call being connected. What's
technically? So if they're in the recording and they're like, you know, or they're in the IVR or whatever else that we've thrown out there, and let's say, for example, like my dog, his name is Russ, okay. And I'm like, Russ, go outside or something like that. Google may pick that up. They hear a name and they may bill you. But the cool thing is they have a dispute action where you can dispute the leads that they charge you. So again, you go back, you read the transcript, you listen to the call, whatever. I like to read the transcript personally because I can see what buttons they pushed or what responses they made. You know, just dispute it as a wrong number or a sales call, or, you know, they give you a whole list of reasons to dispute. And it's usually instantaneous that they'll refund your money right back. So I typically operate at a negative balance.
Okay. And then what's the typical cost per call?
Most markets are anywhere between $30 and $50
per call.
Per conversation. Yes.
Okay. Per conversation. Yeah, that's an important distinction. So, and then is it bidding? Is it kind of like auction style?
It's kind of like auction. So there are some, you know, without going into great detail, there are some workarounds with the auction system to keep you at the top.
Right.
And I, every time that I have a consultation with the client and I show this to them, they're like, there's a big surprise factor there. So that's all the information I want to get out about that, but you can probably pick up a little bit while I'm laying down. There is a huge workaround with it. Understand, if I give Google or Facebook or Meta or whatever else, right, a budget of $500 a month, and let's say I'm giving Google $500 a month for PPC, and if I'm giving Meta $500 a month to run ads, they're going to use that whole entire $500.
Yep.
If I give Google $500 a month, or I don't give them, I let them know I'm willing to spend $500 a month for local services ad. Your ad spend and your ad budget are oceans apart typically, especially when you have an automated system, because you're canceling calls, you're hanging up on people, or whatever else, right? You're disqualifying people before. It's a backwards way of thinking, but it works very well. We're disqualifying leads before they get to us, so we're not spending 3 hours a day trying to qualify the hundreds of leads in our database who are reaching for that low-hanging fruit. So there's a good way to dispute it. And so the point of this whole thing is, like, if I tell them $500, I'm probably going to spend $100.
Okay.
So it's not, so I think that's where people get kind of hung up. Like, I don't want to have a crazy budget because I might spend it all. Again, what's the public in your area doing? Are they going to Google to look for your business? Oftentimes not. And I want to be clear too, like, this is not your Black Friday at Sears, again, showing my age.
Yeah.
Where, people are rushing in the door and like, oh my gosh, you're gonna get leads like crazy. We probably had 400, almost 500 phone calls last year. Okay. Mm-hmm. Of those 400 or 500 phone calls, I would say maybe 30 got through. I think we're somewhere high 28, 29 calls actually got through. Okay. And then we converted 14 of those.
So it's about quality. It's not quantity.
High quality.
Yeah.
So for your audiences, here's a question I get all the time. What did you spend last year? I don't know what I totally spent last year, but I can do the math. And you can do the math.
5,000 or two?
We not under 1,000. We closed 14 transactions on local services ads last year. And 14 is a good year for anybody really in our market. I spent $29 per closed transaction. We don't do it per lead because it's just the way they bill is very confusing. We just know, okay, at the end of the year, how much do we give Google local services ads? Well, you do $14 times 29.16. That's what I spent for the total of the year. Our average commission checks out here around $9,000 or $10,000.
Yeah.
You can do the math. The ROI is there.
Yeah.
This is every good coach worth their salt in the game will talk about local services ads.
So I've heard people have frustration. I know Josh is struggling to get his going. It was working once and then it stopped. It sounds like there's just a lot to know here, the ins and outs of setting it up and making sure that you actually get calls in the first place, right?
Well, and it's a moving target too, right? So like, there's different ways that Google likes to bill you, and you have to see what's more effective that week. Sometimes, like, for 1 week, we may get 6-10 calls. We'll convert 1 or 2 of them, whatever else. Next week, we might not get any. And then next week, we might not get any. So I'm like, okay, what have they changed on us now? So we go back in the database, you flip this switch this way, turn this knob up that way, and let it run for a while to see what that looks like. So there's always a lot of trial and error because Google, again, they're in it to make a lot of money. And if you're getting a lot of leads, we're trying to spend a lot of money, so they're going to find ways to, okay, well, you need to try this billing method next, or you need to open up this territory or shut down this territory or whatever else. So, but again, I have a huge client out of near Detroit, and he's very well known, whatever else. But they set up a separate Google account just for local services ads. Well, Google's like, that's a new account. We don't know how much we trust this account right now. So it's taken them a very long time to generate leads from that.
Yep.
In the same breath, I have a guy out of Greenville, South Carolina, who I believe fourth quarter alone had like 11 closings just from local services ads.
Smaller market,
less saturation. Plus he had already had a decent presence with Google. So what we found now over the last couple of years, your SEO presence does have weight on your local services ads, but at the end of the day, if you're answering your calls, because if you miss a call, you take.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's very important. I should have brought that up.
That's probably why Josh tanked.
Yeah. So if he misses any phone call, because Google's like, well, if we can't bill you unless you answer your phone. If you don't answer your phone, we can't make
Give
it
it to the next guy.
We're gonna give it to the guy who is answering his phone.
Yeah.
And once, what freaked me out at first was I bought into this thing for like my initial investment was like $8,800. And I was like, wow.
To learn how to do it.
And then my first 2 months, I spent $2,500 and $3,500 respectively in ads, because we were taking everything. I had a VA, and she would transfer the call to a live answering service. They would collect the information, send it to me. By the time it got to me, it's been 15 minutes, and I'm calling the lead back, and it's like, hey, I got a trailer out and piece of land up in the desert. It's on solar. Can you help me sell it? I'm like, no. Nobody's going to buy that, right? So I'm like, all right, stop. I don't know. We got to figure this out, which is why we figured out the automated system. I was concerned that Google would be like, I thought there are two schools of thought here, right? I'm like, I'm going to be turning away 80, well, the number is 88%. 88% of all the calls that I get are disconnected. And we do it politely. Thank you for the call. We'll call you right back, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, Google's going to stop sending me money because they can't charge me, because I found a workaround with the system. And then I had another thought. I was like, well, hold on a second. They know I have a 99% answer rate. Maybe they'll send me more because they know I'm going to answer the phone and eventually start paying them. Well, fast forward to 6 weeks, about 2 months, 6 weeks, 2 months after we started using the automated system, we were getting 5 or 6 calls a day. To where I had to just shut it down. So every now and then I have to just turn my ads off or put them on pause or whatever else. If anybody who does Obsidy or Zillow Flex or whatever else, you understand you can pause your leads anytime. You can do the same thing on Google. And then as our bill goes up and we have things that we can dispute, we start noticing that our dispute rate is really high too. So then I start operating at a negative balance. So they might charge me $500, and then the next month I might have a negative balance of $700. Which means I'm getting leads for free at this point.
Yeah. Okay.
I could talk about this for an hour, so I'm trying to really delve.
Well, but let's transition, because we like to keep these to about a half hour. So we wanted to kind of give the broad strokes here, right? Google Local Services Ads, basically a service from Google. You can go and buy phone calls, for lack of a better way to saying it. You show up toward the top of Google, people click the call button, and they call you. Kris has kind of been working with this for a while and figured out some ins and outs that Josh hasn't, that most people haven't, right?
I don't know anybody who does it the way we do it. There are third-party companies out there. YLocal comes to mind. They have an automated system too, but here's the deal with these third-party companies. I want to warn your audience real quick, Ryan.
Yeah.
It goes back to, like, if I give Google $500 for PPC, if I give Meta $500, they're going to use that $500 up. Same thing with like companies like YLocal, and there's other third-party companies out there. They set your budget, you pay them, they run your ads, and if they're only billed $100, who's keeping that additional $400?
Oh, I know this game very well. Yes,
they are.
Yeah.
So you can set it, forget it.
You're better off having more control, is kind of what you're getting at. And
honestly, it's 20 minutes a week to just literally. And I'm probably being very liberal there. All you need to be worried about is like just making sure that you're billing, that you're on top of your billing, not getting overcharged. And and then secondary to that, just making sure you're disputing leads that you shouldn't have been charged for.
And then of course there's work in the setup. Like you gotta get this up and running, you gotta get the reviews on the page, some content on your Google business listing and all that stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. So Josh set this all up. I'm scrolling on the bottom of the screen a link to our mastermind that we do at 1 p.m. here Eastern time, and it'll be 11 o'clock your time. And then I also have Kris's Calendly link right there. Kris, you do just like a consult call or something with people?
No, it'll go to my our first call is an actual phone call. I'm not going to waste your time getting on Zoom. Our first call is about a 10-minute phone call, 15-minute phone call. I want to see what you're doing, where you are. We talk about your territory, because our price is based geographically speaking. Some people want to run an entire state. Okay, that's great. Now we offer exclusivity, which these other guys don't. And the reason being is because if you're say you and Josh are in the same area, and you guys are both running my system, well, your ad spend, your cost per lead is going to grow exponentially because you're both fighting each other.
Yep.
So we offer exclusivity as long as the subscription is paid for every month. That's a whole other thing.
So you basically you're because we didn't really talk about this, and I don't think Josh talked about it with you either. You basically have like a consulting service, and you have the automation you've set up. You can help people get going with.
Yes.
Is that kind of what that call would be about? The details of that. What are we doing at 1 on the mastermind? You're going to show some basics of getting set up or something?
Yeah, I'll go through the basics of getting the account set up. We'll see how it's connected to your Google My Business. We'll pull the curtain a little bit back and talk about how the automated system works and how we can dial that in. I've got property management companies that use our system just for renters. I've got a lot of people who sell just land. I've got people who they want $1 million properties and that's it.
So you can niche down the offer that you're making with the Google Services ads. Is that what I'm hearing? We
can niche down to where I have a handyman who wants to direct people to his website. He doesn't want to ever talk to anybody. And he stays consistently in the top 3 in the East Valley. And all he says is, please visit my website at www.handymanservices.com.
And then they book there.
And he pays nothing. And he's still at the top. It's crazy.
That's a nice hack. So he's using it to send people to his lead magnet, kind of like you could do like I have this 727realestatedeals.com, which is you could kind of have a landing page that you direct people to for your main
right.
Okay. I like this. So 1 o'clock, we'll get a little more into the technical how-to, just the basics of getting set up. It sounds like, Kris, what you figured out is stuff that you don't want to talk about publicly because it's you don't want everybody in the universe doing it. Because it loses.
Everybody has to sign an NDA after that first call if they want to go forward.
Okay, so if you want to talk to Kris, go ahead. We put his info right there. Yeah. I don't know what he's charging, what he's selling. We don't have any financial relationship, Kris. Right? We're just
I just appreciate you guys throwing me out.
Yeah, we're just trying to help. We're just trying to help people get started with this. We know it's something we get asked about a lot. We have no idea. So, Kris, thanks for coming on this session, and then we'll pick it up. We'll pick it up at 1 and get a little more into the nitty gritty if you guys can make it. If you can't make it at 1, we always put the replays up at wakeup.realestate. And as always, just thanks for watching, guys. There were a few questions. Real quick, is this in Canada yet?
No, my experience, no.
Okay. And then what budget? I think you answered what budget. There's a lot to that. And that's about it. Yeah. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Sorry to rush you off. I actually have a 10:30, so I'm being like,
you're good. Yep.
I'm rushing everybody off. And thank you, Kris. I'll see you at 1.
See you at 1.
All right. See you guys.